Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Let me know if you are hearing me well enough. Okay. Let me turn something off here, my emails. Sound is good. That's good. We've got Grow Mechanic. Hi, Grow Mechanic. Grow Mechanic is one of the guys who's always the first to comment in my videos. So he's like the top man in terms of commenting. Loud and clear, No, Mr. B. Uh, Guess what? Today I was reading the Daily Telegraph online, and I subscribed to it. And there's a story about V, the thing that you put on your, they inject. And I was reading through the comments. Most people are against it. And then these adverts kept popping up from the UK government, NHS, about stay home, don't go out. The new variant is moving, spreading fast. So I decided to actually take Billy for a really long walk in the park because it was a nice day. So Billy is really out of it because it was a long walk for him, but he did really well. So there were a lot of people out there today, and that's really encouraging. They're trying to tell people to pretend they have this, but people are ignoring it. Loads of people out today, which was really nice. So, hi, Padenda Johnson. Hi, nice to see you. Paul Weens from Southern Manitoba. Labuck. Dennis Goya from Mexico. Mr. B, I've seen him already. Yeah, Gerolji, interesting. The Rothschild guy that died. His name is Benjamin de Rothschild. His father was Edmund de Rothschild. And Edmund de Rothschild was a big proponent of environmentalism. He was very influential with the UN, starting the ecological movement, climate change movement in the 80s and 90s. I've spoken about this. If you Google George Hunt, George Hunt unsaid. Yeah, Google that. There's a really interesting video where George Hunt exposes Benjamin de Rothschild's dad being the major mover, major person behind environmentalism, a guy that used to work for him or be very closely related to him was Maurice Strong, who was involved in the energy business and became a UN guy. I think he was Canadian, Maurice Strong. Sorry, Maurice Strong. So yeah, I think it's quite interesting. He was only 57. He lived in Geneva, and I know where he lived because I lived in Geneva. I didn't realize when I lived in Geneva, for example, that day the Rothschilds lived there. But his family came from France during World War II to Switzerland. They stayed there. And their chateau or castle, they call it, is very near the U.S. mission, United Nations mission. And I remember from living in Geneva that the Marines had a mission in Geneva, very close from the Rothschild chateau. And it's also very close to the UN, close to CERN as well. I don't know. We're told that he died of a heart attack. So anyway, I haven't mentioned the title of the video about I think I said it's even allies, US's closest allies losing or getting away from the dollar. I don't remember what the title is, and I can't see it here. But I saw a story. I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, and I was quite surprised because I hadn't heard of that. And it says it's in the FT. EU sets out plan to curb reliance on dollar in post Trump era. So it's not even political. This is more, I think, longer term geopolitically. And this is a plan that the EU Commission is planning to adopt. Uh, guess what day? Well, January 19th, just before Biden is inaugurated. I know there's a lot of speculation about the January 20th, but let's go with what's being said, right? I don't want to speculate, but I think that's quite significant. Uh, I know the EU is not the most I would say, free system of government, the EU. It is a monolith. It is quite corporatist, globalist, but they're trying to, what the article talks about is that they're trying to avoid all the sanctions and the political risk from holding too many dollars, right? And they're trying to find ways to diversify. They're trying to find ways to be less reliant on SWIFT, which is the system, a payment system around the world. So, yeah, I think that's quite significant. You would and don't forget, the EU and most of the countries in the EU are part of NATO. They are allies of the United States. A bit of water. So yeah, Billy had a really long walk today. Lord Humongous, nice to see you. I was wondering where you've been. I haven't seen you comment too much in the videos. Continuing down to downsize, watching the West Coast. Hammer the like button. Cupid Stunt says, grow mechanics. Silver has a potential for more gains. Yeah, I think I made a video yesterday, and I was surprised that it got quite a lot of views because it was a controversial subject, and it was a Saturday. For some reason, my videos on Saturday don't get as many views, but it did. Someone asked me what I thought about the dollar, commodities, and yields going up. Well, my view hasn't changed on the dollar and gold and all fiat currencies. I think we're going to continue to see the dollar and fiat currencies move lower versus precious metals, versus commodities. Commodities look relatively stronger in the short term, the last few months, versus gold and silver. But on the long-term chart, actually, the general commodities are just starting to catch up with gold. And I think in the short term, I think gold is probably going to have a little bit of back and forth movement. So I'm not expecting any big moves soon. I could be wrong, but that's just short term. You need to really think long term. I think you need to think of stacking gold and silver more as a protection for whatever wealth or savings you've been able to accumulate. Because if you leave that in fiat currency and any other paper assets, I think it's going to be in danger. And what about cryptocurrencies? One of my viewers sent me a very interesting article, and I need to put the link to this article here on the live stream, because anyone who has, I would say, big exposure in terms of percentage of their wealth in cryptocurrency, currencies need to read this article. It was even written, the guy who wrote it said this is a one-off article, and he didn't even give his name or her name. It could be a girl, but I think it's highly significant. And I'm not trying to have a go at Bitcoin. I think the idea of Bitcoin is basically the idea of sound money. Whether Bitcoin will supplant gold, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. The blockchain technology is interesting, but not just for currencies, but for business and technology. But you need to read this article. I've been hearing about Tether And I think there's a big problem there with the way Tether has been created out of thin air. Apparently, well, not apparently. They used to say Tether was 1-to-1 to the U.S. dollar, but then they had to admit it was only 74% backed by the dollar. So if they can lie about it being 1-to-1, are they lying it about being 74-to-1? And if you look at the supply of Tether in 2017, when Bitcoin went from 1,000 to 19,000, the supply of Tether was going just like the price. And now, since uh, April or May last year, the supply of Tether has gone through the roof, and Bitcoin has gone through the roof. So I think there's a lot of manipulation there in the cryptocurrency. I think there's a lot of scammers in this crypto space. I'm not saying everyone is a scammer. The exchanges are in it. I think Tether owns Bitfinex. So I think people need to be careful with not to sell or to bet their house or farm on cryptocurrencies. The other thing that I had known about, because I use a lot of the exchanges to exchange my altcoins that I earn from Steemit, DTube, Hive, and Library. And I usually put it into Bitcoin so I can put it in my Wirex card and then spend it in pounds. And I've seen that these exchanges allow people to leverage their trades like 2-to-1, 6-to-1, 10-to-1, and even more. So I think it's very dangerous right now, what's happening in the cryptocurrencies. I think people have done well. I'm not disputing that. I just listened to Jay Snip 4 today, and he was able to make enough money through Theta to pay off his mortgage, and that's a good thing. But I think a lot of people are gonna get hurt. And the other thing that I'm concerned about is that the big Wall Street banks, especially Goldman Sachs, are getting involved in the crypto space. Goldman Sachs is getting involved. Well, they started in 2018. There's a private equity group or fund called Circle, which is backed by Goldman Sachs. They bought an exchange called Poloniex, which I used to use a lot before they bought it. And then I saw that they bought it, and I wasn't very happy, but I have an account with Poloniex. So, and some of you probably heard of Matt Taibbi. He wrote an article years ago. When was it? Matt Taibbi, 2010, so 11 years ago. And I'm going to give you guys the link to it. The Great American Bubble Machine. And guess who that is? Goldman Sachs. So I think we really need to be careful with the crypto space, uh, especially Goldman Sachs, Tether, Bitfinex, Poloniex. I think there is some shenanigans going on there, and that's it. I'll stop it here, but that's what I wanted to talk about in terms of the cryptocurrency. In terms of the dollar, as the title of the video says, even the EU, that's the close ally of the EU, they're looking now, and they're going to make their policy public on Tuesday, the 19th, that they want to get away from the dollar as much as possible. They don't want to rely on the dollar as much. They're going to try to start, from the article I read, like pricing things like natural gas in euros. They're trying to get away from the dollar. Are you still on Twitter? No, I'm not. SW, I deactivated my Twitter account over a week ago. And actually, I don't miss it really. And yeah, I deactivated it. I'm posting a lot more stuff on my blog, maneco64.net. I used to post, write something there every 2 or 3 months. Now I'm doing it more regularly. I know it doesn't have the network effect of Twitter, but that's what I'm doing. Yeah, some people think Twitter might go the way of MySpace. I don't know if you guys remember MySpace. Yeah, that's right. SW maneco64.net. Can the Fed be beaten? Um, yeah, I think it can. We can never say never. If the Fed is an institution, it's not God. So I think the best way to beat the Fed is to stack physical gold and silver, get out of their system, don't lend to them, because every Federal Reserve note or fiat dollar or Bank of England note that I hold in my pocket or in my bank account is actually a loan to those people. So that's why I keep telling people to try to stack physical. Don't play their game. Try to be outside the system as much as possible. Yes, I do have some mining stock investments, which technically, if I sell them, they would be converted back into US dollars, then pounds, but it's not a huge percentage of what I have. I think someone asked me about about Parlor. Yeah, I was on Parlor, but Parlor was brought down as well. I don't know if when they'll be back. And I think I had almost 500 followers in Parlor, so it was growing. But unfortunately, I think Amazon cut off their cloud uh, service to them. Yeah, that's the other thing as well. Why we need to. I know I'm reliant on YouTube, on the internet, on the digital world, making my videos and having the Monaco 64 community. But we can't make ourselves too dependent on the digital world because they can cut us off very easily. So, how do you do that? I don't know. It's all, everyone has a different circumstance. I have my circumstance, and would it be a disaster for me if I was off from everything? It wouldn't be nice, but I could survive. So that's what the way you need to think. Favorite silver coin, you and Mac. Actually, of late, I, I really like the pre 1920 florins from the UK. This coin here, but I have all kinds of silver coins. I mean, they're all really. I think silver coins are really nice, and you can feel the clanky noise of a silver coin compared to a copper nickel coin. Here's a real dollar. There you go. That's a dollar. That's from I think 1921. So that's a real dollar. If someone asks you what's a dollar, well, that's it. So yeah, I love that sound of silver coins, but they're all nice. Some are nicer than others. Um, so there you go. GM, thank you for your super chat. We opened junior ISA accounts for 2 kids. We can't withdraw money. We want to buy for kids gold and silver. What can we do? Um, well, I'm not sure why you can't withdraw the money, but just don't put more money in there and just buy silver coins. Buy some gold for them, like half sovereigns or sovereigns. You can buy like little 1 gram coins of gold, which is a less expensive. Um, yeah, just and I'm not sure why you can't take the money from their ISA accounts. I'm not sure. But yeah, if you want to get them gold and silver, make sure that you don't put more money into to the ISA accounts. And if you buy coins for them, make sure that they're coins of the realm, so they're capital gains tax free. And maybe give Gold Investments a call. They could help you. Oliver Temple, I've got a promo code with them, Maneco64. Yeah, that's right, Lord Humongous. $1 a way to silver. Shane Sturgis. Yeah, Dr. Vernon Coleman. Yeah, he's still on YouTube sometimes. I follow him as well. Chris Conman. When the Fed does crash the dollar, why don't they just go ahead and default on debt to clear the slate? Is the alternative any better, inflating it away? Well, basically, crashing the dollar is inflating it. So you create loads of dollars. It's the law of supply and demand. The dollar becomes worth less versus real goods. And then when you do that, it's a lot easier to carry the debt because, as Alan Greenspan once said, the U.S. government or the Fed, they don't have to default. They can just print dollars. The Fed and the Treasury defaulted back in 1971 when Nixon closed the gold window. They used the term "close the gold window," but basically they defaulted on the promise to redeem 1 troy ounce of gold for $35. They broke that promise, but they just kept printing. If the French wanted to redeem the dollars, no, they just had to accept the paper dollar. So they just had to keep printing. That's so the dollar has already been defaulted upon. What's happening is that they're inflating it away even more. So they don't have a need to default or have a clean slate. They might, if people lose confidence in the Federal Reserve and the the fiat dollar, then yes, everything could collapse, and that's what hyperinflation is. They might be looking to do that, but they can't really tell the world, or we want to hyperinflate the dollar away. They have to keep fooling people that they're not creating inflation, that there's no inflation, so they can keep inflating even more until one day people realize it and they want out, like the frog jumping off out of the boiling pot. And as per even allies now wanting an alternative to not be so reliable on the US dollar, as the EU is saying they're going to adopt this policy on Tuesday. It's not even because they're worried about the value of the dollar, but also the fact that the United States, being the global reserve currency and being used a lot for payment system, can use it as a political tool. I think that's what the EU is more worried about, because they're clueless about currency debasement. These Eurocrats or the people in Washington, D.C., they don't see the inflation. So I hope that helps, Conman. Did I pronounce you right? Conman. That's a weird surname. I'm sure that's not... not sure if that's your real name. Monday is Martin Luther King holiday in the US. Yeah, it's not here. I think it used to be, wasn't it President's Day before the holiday in January, I think, or George Washington's birthday? Today I have one of my old mugs, Maneco 64 mug. I don't know if it's still available. I'm not anti-vaccine, but can we trust it? Do you? Not really. I don't think. Usually, it takes 5 to 10 years to develop a vaccine. This one's taken months, and I mean, the last time I took a vaccine was when my dad and I and some friends went from Rio in Brazil. We went on a boat trip up the Brazilian coast into the Amazon River, the rainforest. So before we left, we had vaccines in Rio for going up to the Amazon for, I think, for malaria or yellow fever. So I'm not against vaccines, but I just think that, and the other one that I'm a bit concerned about is this mRNA vaccine, which is it's not really a vaccine. It just changes your DNA system, basically changes you. And I've seen stories now that a lot of people there's been a lot of deaths after these vaccines, especially in Norway, I think. So, Evan Spellman, thank you for your super chat. Have been watching your channel over a year now. Thank you for all the informative shows. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for your support there. Full of hope. Thank you for your super chat. What do you think Paul Volcker would do right now? Well, Paul Volcker, don't be fooled into thinking that he was pro the people, or that he wanted to help the American public. I don't think he was. He was a Rockefeller, Chase Manhattan guy. He was a banker. The only reason he let rates go up was just to save the Federal Reserve, really. So, what would Paul Volcker do now? I think he would probably he would probably be doing what Jay Powell is doing, just trying to keep the game going. I don't think he would raise interest rates because, like, he allowed rates to go up to 20% in the early 80s, because he would know that if he let rates rise, the whole house of cards would implode. So I think the only way to keep the dollar, or not the dollar, because we know the dollar is one of these, right? But to keep the imposter that is the Federal Reserve note going is, unfortunately for the Federal Reserve, is to probably to debase it even more. And I think that's what they're going to do. So I don't think Paul Volcker would do anything different. I think and it's too late. I think Paul Volcker didn't really approve too much of the way the financial system and the banking system became, because it became a casino. I think he was more of a traditional banker. He wanted, even though I'm not saying he was like a sound money guy, but yeah, I don't think he really thought much about all the derivatives. But the problem is, the system needs the derivatives market to survive the fiat currency system, because it needs more and more debt. And what the derivatives market does is allow the big banks, the central banks, the treasuries to manipulate prices, because they use the derivatives to manipulate underlying price of assets. So yeah, it's hard to say. Yeah, Paul Volcker would have had a tough time with the situation right now. He could have raised interest rates, but he probably would have, the social situation would be even worse. Graham Hobbs says, I've been meaning to mention this. Oh, yeah, Bond King and Maneco in interview. Let's do this, please. Is that Jeff Gundlach, Bond King? That's the Bond King I know, or Bill Gross of PIMCO. I don't know those guys. I think I know who you mean, but I'm not. I'm not like looking to interview him, and I don't know if he wants to interview me. But anyway, oh, Burger King, yeah, Lord Humongous, yeah, I know. I know what he means. Oh, the other thing I saw, someone sent me an article about, because I think I've spoken about this, because the nickel coin in the U.S., it costs more than 5 cents to mint that coin, and now the U.S. Mint, they're looking to change the composition because the cost is getting too high. That's another sign of inflation, right? Mark Farber interview again. Yeah, Mark Farber is a really nice guy. I've interviewed him a couple of times. I'll probably try to get in contact with him again. How much will silver be by the end of the year? I don't know. I have no idea. It's difficult to predict prices, but I think the dollar will be a lot lower. So silver should be a lot higher. And not just the dollar, but the pound, the euro, the yen, the Aussie dollar, all the fiat currencies. Doug Casey. Yeah, I mean, I've been following Doug Casey for years. I've read some of his books. Um, I mean, I have to try to get in contact with people like that. I guess I just have to ask. Uh, but I have to say, I I do enjoy the interviews, and I do interviews, but my channel, I try to focus more on what I say, and I don't want to be a channel just for interviews, but I will try to think of someone new, someone different, and see if they accept my invitation. William Birkin wrote, uh, "You are the wisest since you are like most of us, still working and striving for our families." Well, I think you know. Even if I I think people need to keep going even if they have enough money to retire, but because right nowadays it's so hard to get an income, and if you really you can't really get an income unless you really risk your capital to get a return. So unless you want to dip into your savings, I think you need to try to keep doing something, trying to create some kind of value to other people, and that's what the life is all about. Speculation is interesting and it pays off if you're right, but I don't think you can depend on speculation, and it drives people. It's psychologically it's really tough. Even Jesse Livermore, who was arguably the greatest stock market operator or trader, he he was he had a depression, bipolar. He was bipolar, and he killed himself when he was 60. So that's why I think an honest living. I'm not saying everyone has to be uh, work in a farm or do a certain thing, as long as they create value, because we all have different aptitudes, right? Uh, I wouldn't try to become uh, a carpenter or something like that because I'm really not good with DIY. So I stick to what I do best is like thinking about things and researching and reading and trying to inform people. Chris Rossini, yeah. I've interviewed Ron Paul once. Yeah, he's good, Chris Rossini. Maybe I could have him on. Steve Van Meter. Yeah, I mean, Graham Hobbs has a fascinating interview the other day. Yeah. Anyway, Jim Rickards' Ice Nine theory. Well, the thing about Ice Nine is that nowadays all the markets are online or on the screens. There's no more physical exchanges. So even now with all the lockdowns around the world, they're keeping the market going. So the financial markets now are just like casinos and people are just trading on them. So but it might be necessary for them to shut everything down if there's a huge crisis, which I think there will be. I always thought that the next crisis will be a currency crisis because that's the crisis to end the system. It's always the currency. Jeff Davis, thank you for your super chat. Institutions are investing in Bitcoin while is getting more criticism from central banks. Where is Bitcoin heading? What is the risk of government central bank restrictions? Well, Jeff, I spoke about cryptocurrencies earlier today, and I'll put a link here to an article I think everyone should read about Bitcoin and Tether and the manipulation that's going on. I think the hit the is that the like button or subscribe. So yeah, I think central banks and the monetary authorities and governments are probably worried because there's a lot of people being suckered in to Bitcoin. Of course, they're worried about the challenge to their currencies, but yeah, I'm not sure they can do much about it, but they can do something about the exchanges. I think the exchanges are a problem in the crypto world. There's some exchanges that need to be looked at. I think There's a lot of shenanigans going on there. So, and as for central bank digital currencies, they're not going to be like cryptocurrencies or decentralized. I think what they're talking about is allowing people like us or non-financial institutions and central to have an account with the central bank. So it could be more efficient. Personally, the best thing that could happen, I think, would be for us to go to some kind of sound money system. I think central banks are a problem because they're not free market institutions. And if we really want to go back to a free market, we need to go to abolish central banks. The U.S. didn't have a central bank from 1837 to 1913, and it functioned okay. So, yeah. Marek Kalenda, Bitcoin price. You really need to read about uh, Tether. I think there's a big, I could be wrong, and they could, because they've been manipulating Bitcoin with Tether since 2017, and they're doing it again. But they might succeed. But I think people need to really be careful with the Bitcoin price and the crypto space entirely. Does that mean I don't use the blockchain? I do. I post all my videos on blockchain platforms like Steemit, DTube, Hive, Library, and I've earned those cryptocurrencies. That's what I think it's good for. It's a some kind. It's different system outside the fiat system, but I just feel that Bitcoin and even the other coins like Ethereum and some others, it's become too much of a bubble. I'm sorry to say. Great Reset, the Great Reset and Fourth Industrial Revolution. Yeah, that's the globalists' wet dream. Hope. I don't think they will succeed because, yeah, I don't think people are going to buy into it. People are waking up. I hope they don't succeed. Pix Gaming. I wrote about that in my blog in June last year. My blog is maneco64.net. There's an interest. I did an interesting article about the origins of the World Economic Forum. Go there and have a look. The other thing I think is wrong is like if we're going to have sound money, and if Bitcoin is going to be an alternative to that, I think all the exchanges in cryptocurrencies, a lot of them provide futures, leverage, options. And I think that's the wrong way to go. I think it should be just a plain vanilla currency where you don't need to have people come in and try to speculate and make a fortune overnight. I think it's supposed to be, if it wants to be a stable store of value, I think the cryptocurrency world needs to move away from that. And I don't like the fact that the big Wall Street banks are getting involved. So I'm staying away from it. I don't mind. I don't care if I don't participate, really. I'm okay with my precious metals. Yeah, I saw that Pace Arrow. Bill Gates is now the largest farmland owner in the United States. He'll probably shut them all down so that I heard he's also invested in the company that makes red meat in a lab. So he probably bought them so that people can't farm anymore, which is not a good thing. Together with the NHS, military personnel are on standby to roll out a mass vaccination program. Do you know if you go onto Google and you search UK government COVID-19 status, you'll find that since March 19th, 2020, the UK government no longer considers COVID-19 a high consequent infectious disease. So why all this? Why all this crisis if it's no longer what they call HCID? I don't understand, and I just don't understand why people don't look into that. Mario D says, Mario, could you comment on banks not accepting Bitcoin monies from wallets? Think HSBC is not accepting. Well, first of all, um, you need to look into, let's say, it's not from the wallet because the only way you can transfer uh, cryptocurrencies to a bank is that you first have to convert the cryptocurrency into your local fiat currency, and you're going to do that through an exchange. So if HSBC knows that this exchange is a crypto exchange, they're going to say, "Oh, we're not going to do business with you." So that's what happens. It's not that HSBC is checking your wallet or anything. It's just that they won't do business with the exchange that where you exchange your Bitcoin with. I haven't had this problem because what I've been doing is earning altcoins outside the system, uh, and then exchanging them for Bitcoin or Ethereum. And I noticed I made a video a few days ago, I think it was Friday, how the exchanges were charging me a lot to transfer small amounts of Bitcoin to my Wirex wallet. Because on Wirex, the Wirex card, I can exchange the cryptocurrencies to pounds and spend. But someone told me you need to use Ripple, which a lot of people think is the bankster's coin. But I have to say, I saved a lot of money putting my altcoins into Ripple. But to do that, I had to go into Bitcoin and then Ripple. So yeah, I don't think what I think the banks are going to do, they're going to crack down on the exchanges. And I can understand why they would crack down on some exchanges. There's some exchanges, if you read the article that I put up, uh, it's a long article, but if you're interested, if you're involved, if you're dependent on cryptocurrencies, you need to read this uh, article here because there's a lot of exchanges, crypto exchanges, who don't provide fiat facilities, but people still trade through them, and then they transfer their crypto to exchanges that do. And why don't they provide fiat facilities, some crypto exchanges? Well, because they don't want to do the know your client, anti-money laundering stuff. I know um that's a lot of regulation, but unfortunately, that's the way the banks are run right now. It's all compliance, most of it. Yeah, Mr. Ashford says so much to be concerned about. Uh, yeah, there is, but I think that that's one of the reasons why, even though that is a TV there, but I don't watch TV. The reason we have that there, it's an old screen basically. My wife likes to stream things sometimes. She has her laptop, but sometimes she wants to watch a big screen. I would say the best way to try to clear your mind is not to watch TV. I haven't done it in 5.5 years. I don't remember the last time I watched the news on TV, really. Maybe at an airport, like when you're sitting down and they've got all the screens with here in the UK, all the airports, they put Sky News on. Try to avoid the newspapers, the mainstream media, even though I have to look at what's going on. And yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I spoke about Benjamin de Rothschild. He died, I think, on Friday, age 57, supposedly of a heart attack. The interesting thing about this guy is that his father was really the force behind the environmentalist movement in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. His father was Edmund de Rothschild. He was heavily involved with the UN. Google George Hunt unsaid. Uh, and George Hunt actually used to go to these environmentalist or environmental, how do you call them, conferences. And it was Edmund de Rothschild that was pushing that, and the UN listened to him. Well, probably because they indirectly own the UN. Some of you might know that it was one of the Rockefellers who donated, I think, $7 or $8 million back in 1946 or 45 for the UN to build its headquarters in New York. And if you look at where these Rothschilds, they're originally from France, but they went to Switzerland during World War II, and their chateau in Geneva is right next to the UN as well. So there you go. Uh, what happened to him? I don't know. Is it a signal? Who knows? Grow mechanic. Yeah, that's a good point there. My wife was listening to Alistair McLeod, and he said it's very difficult to lend Bitcoin or borrow in Bitcoin because uh, when your currency that you do business is collapsing versus Bitcoin, you won't be able to pay back your loan. So, yeah, to have a credit market, you need a very stable currency or stable money, so you can borrow in that currency or money, and know that you're going to be able to pay back the loan. Uh, and that's why gold and silver have been money, because they've been very stable over thousands of years. And that's why fiat currencies collapse, because they are not. I know the dollar, the petrodollar, has lasted for a long time, but I think it's the exception to the rule. And I think soon it will be gone. Bobby 8270. Yes, a lot of people are going to do well, like you did, Bobby. But I think there's a lot of people getting suckered into that market. A lot of people are going to lose a lot of money, or if not everything. I think it's getting more and more, unfortunately, like the South Sea bubble. The And not because I'm against the idea of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, but because of I think what's apparently heavy manipulation by the crypto exchanges with Tether, basically creating Tether without any backing. Yeah, read that article that well, I'll put it up again, and I'll put it later on in the description of this video. The guy who wrote this, he's apparently in the startup business, or girl, because this person wanted to remain anonymous. And this is a one-off. And this person did very well from Bitcoin as well, but he unfortunately thinks it's a huge bubble, not because Bitcoin isn't any good, but because there's foul play going on. And I think that's really dangerous. Ewan Max says, I think you'd be very lonely without your channel. Yeah, I mean, I started back in late 2015, early 2016. I never thought it would grow so much. And yeah, it's like a community, especially nowadays where you can't go out and see people or play golf. I can't. I just read an article, saw a headline in the Daily Mail, I think, that a minister said that the lockdown that we're under is going to be at least until the end of February. So, yeah, not good. Kyle Kramer, thank you for your super chat. Loonies, for loonies. We're heading towards a commodity super cycle. I think so, Kyle. I think we are. Commodities have been, and I've been saying this for months now, but it's like a super tanker, when it changes course, it doesn't do it like a dinghy, like I used to sail in Brazil, the Optimist dinghy, very quickly. It takes time. So I think so. And that's going to be a reflection of fiat currencies losing value, the commodity super cycle. Lord Humongous, good group of moneconomists in the room. Yeah, I mean, in terms of, I can't play golf either, Tribuno Pleb says. Yeah. I mean, right now the weather's so bad anyway. I probably wouldn't have been playing. It's just the thought that you can't play because it's been quite wet and raining here. Today was a nice day. It could have been nice to play today, but yeah. Uh, Rod Panhard. Yeah, I know what you mean there. I don't think. I think a lot of people are against that, Rod. What you're saying there, but why do we need that if you have a 99.9 chance of surviving if you're like under 65? Gur OG, that's good, Gur OG. He doesn't even know if he's in a lockdown because life is he lives a very simple life. Uh, there's a good channel from Norway that I watch. Andreas Bo Hansen is a Viking channel. He's quite good. He's an interesting guy. He has a lot of followers. Kyle Kramer, did anyone see that JP Morgan, HSBC, Citi have huge stakes in DPLO in Namibia? No. What's DPLO, Kyle? Is that a mining company? I hadn't heard about that. Yeah, Bobby, it's that's his name. Andreas Bo Hansen. I think it's Bjorn Andreas. Yeah, it's a long name. Bjorn Andreas Bo. And I think he's an author. He's written quite a few books. I'm not sure how popular he is in Norway. Let me get the link. Yeah, he's got 379,000 subscribers. So he's doing very well with his subscribers. It's like a community. He's always, most of the time, he's outside in the woods making his coffee and talking about things. Oh, uranium mining. Okay. Yeah, I think all commodities are going to do well. Uranium probably too. I think oil is going to do well. General commodities. I don't really. I can't tell you exactly stocks to buy there, but you just need to do your homework. I try to stay away from ETFs. I know it's convenient to buy ETFs, but you're helping the banks by doing that. Aaron Razi, I live in a small town in Iowa. Farm lockdown. What lockdown? Yeah, you're well, you're fortunate. Uh, someone said, "Girl, OG, it's screaming red flags." One from Norway, over 300,000 subs. Well, he does do it all his videos in English, so and I think people like him. Uh, Not so sure if it's screaming red flags. Life of Hope, yeah. But I saw it's been snowing in places that are really unusual. Yeah, so much for global warming. I think Saudi Arabia, they had snow. Greece had snow. Madrid had a massive amount of snow a week or two ago. My sister and my family in Switzerland, they sent me a photo. They've got like that much snow. Yeah, it's so much for that. Greta Thunberg 2024. Uh, well, I don't think she can run. She's not natural born American. Well, she's Swedish. The other thing someone noted is that the Rothschild guy who died, his father and him are a lot into sailing. And apparently, the boat that Greta sailed to the U.S. on, the sailing boat, I think it was a 60-foot boat, was originally owned by Edmund de Rothschild, and they sold it to a German guy, and then she provided the boat for her. You wonder if they did that to so people couldn't say, "Oh, she's using the Rothschild boat," so they sold it to him to like basically hide their identity. I would say. Uh, Paul Travers talking about Jim Willie and the Rothschilds in Switzerland. You could be right. I mean, this is all speculation because we're not going to get information on that. But I have to say, the World Economic Forum, I know they do their forum in Davos, which is in the other side of Geneva. It's in the east of Switzerland. And I know Switzerland well because when I lived there in the summer, even when I was started working, uh, I was single and I used to go play golf tournaments all throughout Switzerland. So I've driven all over Switzerland many times over. But in Geneva, like the Rothschild castle they have is right opposite to where the World Economic Forum is. It's on the other side of the lake, but they're all there. So who knows? Scott Bonata, I agree with you. Everything is manipulated. I think all the stuff we hear, the public, uh, it's all for public consumption. And what's really going on behind the scenes, I don't think we'll ever know, probably, unless we're able to meet someone who's been on the inside. So, but one thing we do know about the monetary system, and you don't have to be the inside on the inside to know, is that they're going to keep inflating the system because they don't have any choice. If they stop inflating, the whole system implodes. Rothschilds work for someone else. Yeah, Shane, I think you're right. They're they are probably a front for a lot of people, much more powerful people that been around longer than the Rothschilds. I would look into, I guess, the royalty and all the European royal families, the Vatican. Yeah, they've been around for 1,000 years. Rothschilds have only really come to the fore in the last, let's say, 250 years. So they are bankers to these people, but they get a lot of the attention. It's probably just a bit of a distraction. Yeah, the Roth. I mean, there's some interesting programs about the Borgias. I think it was on Netflix, and or the Medici in the during the Renaissance. if you wanted to do well in banking, you needed to have the Vatican account because the Vatican used to get tribute, or when people went to church and they confessed and they had to, they brought the hat around, they got a lot of money, so they had to have someone to collect all that money, and that's how they started. Yeah, William Birkenroad. Yeah, it was Amschel Rothschild. I think his father died when he was young, and then he went to train at the Oppenheimer, I think in northern Germany, to become a banker, and then he moved back to Frankfurt, and they changed their name. They had a red sign outside, so they changed their name to Red Sign, Red Shield. But they wore Bowers originally. That's right. Italy doesn't have a government. Well, Italy changes government every 15 months on average. What that means is that the government collapse, so they're just going to create another government. It might take a general election, but don't worry. I think their tax men, they always work, unfortunately. So I'll do a few more minutes. I'll take a few more questions. We're on the hour mark. Oh, I just saw a Rumpelstiltskin. I hadn't seen you, Rumpelstiltskin. Biden not remember afternoon. I was thinking when Biden is inaugurated, he might say, "I promise to defend and protect the Constitution of Canada," because he's so out of it, instead of the United States. Life of hope. No, there is no food crisis here. Um, uh, my wife, she goes most of the time to the supermarket. No, there isn't a food crisis. Things have gone up a little bit, but not that much. Did Pope Francis get arrested? I don't know. Don't know if he got arrested. Who would arrest him? I think the Vatican is supposed to be a sovereign. I think it's probably the oldest sovereign institution in the world, and it's the only sovereign state, along with Switzerland, that has a square flag. So, and guess who defends the Pope? The Swiss guards. They're actually Swiss. So, and I think they're quite tough. So, who would arrest them? I don't know. Who would arrest the Pope? The other thing about the Vatican and the present Pope is that he's the first Jesuit Pope, and the Jesuits were created by Loyola, I think. And some people think he was like of another religion, that he was like a crypto Jew, right? So yeah, there's a lot going on there. I think yeah, the Rothschilds, they're interesting. They're in the limelight, but I think they're just a distraction. All right. So yeah, we've been on for a long time. Vatican Gold. I'll keep going. Why not? Vatican Gold, Grow Mechanic. Yeah, I think they keep a lot of their gold with the New York Fed. I've done videos talking about how when Paul Volcker was president of the New York Fed, he was in communications. He communicated with the head of the Vatican Bank, and the Vatican Bank kept the gold with the New York Fed, and the Fed used that to basically manipulate the market. They would lease the gold Vatican Bank. I think they did that in 1970, 77, because gold was starting to go up. And they didn't succeed very well because gold eventually went to almost $900 in 1980. So, yeah, I think the Vatican has probably a lot of gold at the New York Fed, probably a lot of gold at the Bank of England, and probably a lot of gold as well with the Bank for International Settlements in Basel. English Patriot says that Obama banks with the Vatican. Dr. Delbert. No, the Italian government, they just, it collapsed. It lost support, but they will get a new government. This is something I think I saw an article in the because Italy has only been around as a state since I think 1871 or 18 sometime in the 1860s or 70s. So they've had 133 or 35 different governments. It's a lot of instability, a political instability in Italy. So what they can do now is either create a new government with the MPs that they have or members of parliament, or they can have another general election. Um, I think they'll try to probably create a new government because with all that's going on, I don't think they want to do a general election. Not that I believe what's going on, of course. Yeah, I was in Italy in October of 2019. My wife and I went to Florence and we had a really nice time there. And we were talking to a lot of people there, that we met. And one guy said that the problem with Italy is there's too much bureaucracy, regulations. And it's true. And it's a shame because I think the Italian economy could be a lot better. Over here, have you ever spoken to Mitch Firestein? I've seen him years ago. I think he was interviewed by Max Kaiser, but I've never spoken to him. I have heard of his book, Planet Ponzi, and I agree with him. And the Planet Ponzi is still going until it doesn't. All right. So thank you guys for all your questions, all your comments, and for being here. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care. Bye. Oh, just one more question. What do you think about BIS opening offices up in London and elsewhere in the world after signing up various central banks? I haven't heard about them opening offices in London, but what I remember when I sold my last house, we had viewers in, and we had a guy that worked for the Bank of England viewing my house, and he said, "Oh, I've just come. I used to live in. We were living in Basel," and I said, "Was that for the Bank for International Settlements?" He said, "Yes." So what the central banks do? They sent their employees, like Bank of England, Fed. They go and work for a few years at the BIS. I hadn't heard that they're going to open offices in London. I'll have to look into that. Okay. Take care, everyone. Bye.